Hello and welcome to Let Me Talk to My Customer. I'm your host, Chad Counts, along with my co-host, Richard Tyler. Rich, how are we doing?
Wonderful. How are you today, Chad?
We are doing well.
Right.
Hello and welcome. There we go, killing the feedback for us real quick. First kill of the day. There we go. Fresh kill. All right. So this week, we are at the midway point in our closing sales series. We will probably have a new salesperson training coming out in June. So be on the lookout. Keep your ears open for that. Excited, only a couple months out. We got URG in August and some big things on the horizon. So hope you all are doing well. May is coming to a close rather quickly. I think we've seen some mixed results so far this month in terms of search demand and some of the volume that we're looking at compared to March and April, which not totally unexpected.
Right.
And we're casting our gaze. This is getting into the dog days of summer. Hopefully, July and August are typically really strong months. June is kind of those last bit of dog days that, hey, we've got to find another level in terms of managing and engaging and pushing people to make sure everybody stays motivated. And so that's a little bit about what we're going to talk on this episode is breaking through resistance. Maybe next week that'll be something we can address as well in terms of how do we keep engagement? How do we keep people elevated when we start getting into these stretches where it's not necessarily peak seasons, it's not necessarily slow, but we got to keep them motivated, keep them churning. So, all right, breaking through resistance. So probably each of you have reached the point. I don't know when you all typically do your company goals or set your objectives. I think this is a time of year where some of those secondary goals start to slip. Obviously, we all have our top line sales goal, our top line growth goals that we keep a long look at. We have our vehicles purchase that we keep a long look at. Those things never really slip too far out of our gaze, if at all. However, I think it's this time of the year where maybe we start getting a little bit of a backlog in inventory. Maybe the hold lot in dismantling gets a little too long, or dismantlers start to slow down. In particular on sales, it could be maybe we let off on brokering a little bit, or we let off on warranties. We don't keep up our close rate. It could be any of those secondary indicators. To me, are things that we need to be on the lookout for, be on the prowl for, and maybe elevate in our awareness and our attention. Sometimes these might be things that you've worked at for a number of months, and other times it could be something that you're now turning your gaze to because you've started off well or you've had other things going on. So in that particular case, could be any of these type of areas, Rich. It seems to be around this time of year or immediately following a really strong sales cycle, we tend to have a little higher resistance level from sales staff. So what are some of the things, either from spotlighting that to addressing that you look at and prioritize?
Sure. So I guess as far as what gets prioritized when trying to implement something like that, I'm thinking really the process. I'm thinking about teams that we're working with currently who maybe get lost in the end goal rather than the process on moving the needle in a positive direction towards that end goal. And I feel like if we are getting resistance in highlighting some of those secondary goals, a lot of times what we have to do is we have to come back to basics. We have to come back to going through the process. What is the process? Where are we not executing on the process? rather than focusing necessarily on the results of that particular process.
Yeah. So I think there's a natural cycle of when you're starting on a journey to achieve certain goals or make changes in a culture or on a team or different things like that. You always start from a perspective of, okay, let's get into our fundamentals, let's get into what we can control. And that leads you down that journey towards progress.
Yeah.
I think what is frustrating or challenging is we often forget that then once we start getting that progress and we start getting those results, there's a tendency, and sometimes this is manager fault, sometimes this is just human nature and personnel. Uh, then we also get fixated. Oh, look at those results! Look at those results! And get really excited about that. And that can be problematic when all of a sudden, part of that has been our process. The other part has maybe been a good season of sales environment or good market conditions. And if we think that the results are just guaranteed at that point, or the results are just going to happen for us no matter what, it's easy for us to lose sight of the process, like you were talking about, right? So does that resonate to you in terms of what you've seen from some of your teams?
Yeah, for sure. And I think the context of the year as well plays a big part in it, just because, like you said, March and April were killer months for the vast majority of the yards that we work with, right? And so it's like coming off really two really strong months, it's easy to fall into the trap of, oh, this is guaranteed. It's like I can't help but be successful. It's like, falling in it,
Yeah.
that it's got to come back to, all right, yes, but you're also the one who generates it when it's not as easy as, hitting water falling out of a boat.
Yeah. So being able to step back and have that mindset of, hey, let's get back and make sure no matter what happens, no matter what changes outside of our control, we key in on those things that are most important to us in terms of how we carry ourselves, the things that we're responsible for, and the ways we want to serve our customers, the way we want to serve our team and our company. And to me, if you kind of start with that model, I'm going to do the best that I can. I'm going to focus on what I can control. That leads to making the best offer you can. That leads to making a warranty offer as often as you can. Those are all things that if you are relentless and tireless in just doing those things that you can control, it really will change where you're headed, right? And I think it's easy to get frustrated and just sell more warranties and do this. And a lot of times when we do that, our employee or team's reactions, they kind of pucker up a little bit and tighten up a little bit. And then, if anything, we probably take an initial step back, or at least in the short run, we take a step back for sure. So let's say it's something that maybe this topic's a little bit different. Something's becoming a little bit stale. We've been talking about it a while, or we've been working on a particular area for a while. Little bit of progress, but just not the level that we're looking to, not the level that we're satisfied with. And so this is a little bit different, where, I think sometimes you're breaking through resistance because you've had so much success and all of a sudden you're kind of forgetting what your fundamentals are. I think you also run into the other side of sometimes you just pecking away at something that you want to get better at. And I think we talk to owners about this sort of thing all the time. They feel like, man, I've talked to my salesperson about this, I don't know how many times. They don't even listen to me. And there's a sense of stuck, or this will never change, or this will never happen. So what are some of the ways that we can break down that sort of stuckness and staleness that comes when resistance is more of an ongoing variety?
Okay. I'm thinking the first step is something like a strategy reassessment, because if you're getting stuck implementing whatever this positive change is that we're looking to happen, whatever we're currently doing isn't working. I'm always one to lean towards reward first. I think it's a conversation we've had before, stick and carrot. I'm much more likely to start with carrot. If that carrot doesn't work, get a bigger carrot or a different carrot, or put the carrot on a shorter stick, so that kind of strategy reassessment. Now, that might be kind of a little bit more of a amorphous kind of example, but like for example, working with a team trying to boost warranty sales. The team that I'm thinking of is all relatively experienced, good, sound salespeople, but really unable to really break the ice as far as achieving what we know is possible in regards to implementing new warranty policies, right? So instead of putting the focus on the final number, putting the focus on the process, kind of like I mentioned before, such that we're making sure we're describing the warranty properly and that we're including it on the quote, leaving it up to the customer to decide, whether or not that's the route that we can take, and focusing on what it is that we can do, which is offer the warranty, let them know what it covers, and give it to them in relation to whatever the standard warranty might be.
Yeah, I think warranty is probably the simplest. Brokered is another one where this really works. And I think that's what we have to be careful ourselves to think, hey, this is an abilities issue. I have not come across anybody who's wanted to sell more warranties, not come across anybody who's wanted to sell more brokering, who we couldn't get to do that. It is almost always, I would say 90% of the challenge of what we're doing is truly that person's internal effort and that person's internal buy-in. There's not too much magic, although there are some people that are really slick at selling warranties or really slick at brokering and different things like that. They know how to work the connections, they know how to sell it. But that's the largest indicator is, okay, when does the light go on from this is something, it's a new habit, I don't want to do it, it's different, where they're dragging their feet, they're putzing around, to, hey, let's do this. I offer this all the time. And in particular, typically how this happens, if you can get one of the team members to fall, one of the dominoes to fall, and all of a sudden the dam breaks loose and they're having a lot of success and doing well, and that gets to be easier. It's trickiest when there's a whole sense of everybody's kind of skittish or not quite sure. And sometimes I think it's a confidence issue, but at either rate, where there's a lack of desire to just execute, just do. So taking the goal or making the goal just so easy that they can't help but achieve it, sometimes is what we have to do. So like you're talking about, Rich, that can be brokering, just looking at what they're quoting, making sure they're offering it as much as they can. It could be with warranty. Yeah, I want to see what percentage of orders have a warranty on their quote. Right? Even to the point of, man, I've seen companies put 15, 20, some really high level bonuses, commissions on warranty, and it's not high enough. You can't ever put that incentive high enough on the outcome, because if they don't internally want to do it, that's just too far away. So if you can start saying, hey, every time you quote this, you're earning some money here, that's typically one of your best avenues to getting the ball rolling. Whoever quotes the most warranties this week wins the contest. Whoever quotes the most brokered parts gets the contest. And take it away from the outcome and get them on the behavior that's going to generate the outcome. It's almost like the Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid of you're getting them to do it or learn it by not focusing on doing it or learning it, or not focusing on the outcome of it, at least. And so I think that's really what you have to come back to. The biggest thing that we have to avoid as trainers, managers, owners, is buying in. It's this is very much a sales release. Who sells who? Does the sales team or does the employee sell you on the fact that they can't do it? They can't get it done. There's just no way. Customers don't want it. It's too long, take too long to get it. It's too expensive. All the stuff that, I mean, I'm, Rich and I are privy to being able to see a lot of different teams. So it's kind of like, well, I know that's not true because X does it. I know that's not true because X does it.
Right.
And there's nothing special about what they do. There's nothing special about necessarily their parts compared to somebody else. They don't spray theirs and some sort of magic fluid that protects it for warranties.
Right.
Credit rates are about the same across the board. So sometimes that helps, having people from outside of the foxhole. You get stuck in that foxhole and just feel like you can't see it being different. But if they sell you on it, then you're stuck. You aren't going to make progress. You're going to be in the same spot you always are. But if you have resilience, if you know that there is a pathway, and if we execute, you'll see the results, and then that resilience will let you overcome and break down their resistance.
For sure. I know it's really hard for owners and managers to have a sales team of 4 or 5 different people telling them, oh, warranty can't be sold, nobody's buying it. When 4 or 5 people are telling an owner or manager that, it's really easy for them to buy into that. But you're right. They need to be resilient. They need to know that that's not the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so not sure where that will hit you all, but I'm sure whether it be currently experiencing resistance with your sales team or maybe some staleness this month, I'm sure all of you can resonate at different points, having either a team member or having your team being stuck on a certain element of growth in the past. This is a tale that's very common, typically hits every counter some season or the other. So hopefully,
like you said, now as we get into the dog days of summer, now is a great time to start, trying to implement some of this change.
Yeah, definitely needs to be an emphasis on, okay, how do we liven things up? How do we make this fun? Whether it's a competition between sales teams, this is a great time to try unique or oddball or silly stuff, or you have a cup or you have a contest, or there's a lot of ways you can go here. It doesn't have to be cookie cutter. And I would say, generally speaking, don't do something that's just run of the mill. Do something that has some uniqueness to it to make it enjoyable. So for Rich, I'm Chad. Thank you guys for joining us. We look forward to hearing more about what you guys are up to and how your businesses are doing. So we wish you well, and please, if there's any way that we can support you guys, please reach out to us. You can always subscribe to this channel on YouTube or review the podcast on iTunes. Anything you would do, that goes a long way helping us out. And if you like our Facebook page, Counts Business Consulting, that's an easy way to get a hold of us too, if you're ever in need. So thanks again for joining us. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of May and finish strong. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.